Schott speaking to you from Minden here in Germany. I believe that God is moving in a new direction nowadays, and He is really sifting through the Christianity, and some of us are falling off, and some of us are being strengthened. And one of the key issues is you must be ready to suffer through any difficulty, any challenge, even in the end times. You must be ready to suffer. Now, our theology nowadays has no room for suffering. But if you read the New Testament, you'll realize suffering was part of Christian life. If you open your Bibles to Philippians 1 and verse 29, Paul speaking to the Philippian church, he says, "For it was granted to you on behalf of Christ not only to believe in Him, but also to suffer for Him." It was granted to you. It was a privilege to you. You were allowed to suffer for Christ. Paul, in his thinking, was referring to suffering as a privilege. What a way of thinking. If we could change our mentality today and think of suffering as a privilege, an opportunity, I believe much of our church ideas and our work in church would change. People would be ready to suffer for Christ, knowing very well it is a privilege to suffer for Him. Same thing happened to Peter and the apostles when they went before the Sanhedrin and they suffered for Christ. And as they came out in Acts 5:41, it says, the apostles left the Sanhedrin rejoicing because they had been counted worthy of suffering disgrace for the name, for Jesus. They have been counted worthy. For them it was a high honor. It was a privilege. They were allowed to suffer for the name of Christ. I wish that all of us could change our attitude from always running after success and popularity into thinking of suffering and being ready to suffer for Christ. It doesn't mean that you have to suffer, but you have to be ready to suffer anytime for Jesus. And if you do suffer, regard it as a privilege. And in 1 Peter 4, Peter shares a secret. And it's something I'm still working on. I'm not completely understanding, but he says the following, 1 Peter 4:13. He says, "But rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed." He says, we are still participating in the sufferings of Christ. So next time you're going through suffering, and I'm not thinking about speaking about suffering because you did something stupid. No, if you're suffering for Christ, regard it as a privilege, regard it as an honor, and suffer through it with dignity, remembering great is the reward waiting for you. The Lord will reward you and He'll bless you. And for all of you suffering right now, remember, God has not forgotten you. You will go through suffering, you'll come out, and you'll be rewarded for your suffering.